Hello there. I'm Scotty. You're not. Try to get in. It just doesn't want to. I don't know. All right, day 10. I have the notebook here, but it's not on that page. Hold on. Day 10. I know what movie it is. I'm reviewing it. Duh. But day 10 of Nickelodeon month is Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, which, let's be honest, was Nickelodeon's answer to Dexter's Laboratory, which I believe this was around the time it got revived. It was big. I think 97 is when it came out. Dexter did lots of 2 seasons, and I think they brought it back in 2000. So I think maybe this was the answer to that revival. Maybe, but it is a very different show. Now, I hadn't seen anything Jimmy Neutron, other than Nostalgia Critics review for this. I haven't seen anything Jimmy Neutron since my son was like 4 or 5. When Nicktoons used to have other cartoons besides fucking SpongeBob. And the Nicktoons channel used to air other stuff besides SpongeBob. Even Nickelodeon itself would just air SpongeBob. Look, I get it. SpongeBob's been a money maker, but you don't need to have that airing 24/7. And it seems like the Nicktoons channel airs mostly that. They don't have any other stuff anymore. I mean, come on. They used to have Fairly Odd Parents. They used to air Fairly Odd Parents quite a bit on there, and Jimmy Neutron, and a lot of older stuff too. But along with some of the new stuff like Sanjay and Greg, or the Breadwinners, or that Tough Puppy show that was, aired on there. But now it's just SpongeBob. And I remember it was Win, Lose, or Kaboom that I watched with my son. Had Tim Allen doing a voice in that I watched with my son when he was like 4 or 5, and it was on Nicktoons channel. That was the last thing Jimmy Neutron we ever watched together. That I had ever watched. So going back to watch this movie, and yeah, the TV show's animation was upped a little bit, even though this is a movie and it was a TV show. I thought it was a little bit better, a little more solid. So the biggest fear I had was that this was not going to age very well. And yeah, the worst thing about this film is the animation. It's very 2001. But it's very much a time capsule of 2001 CGI in this movie. You had like another one would be Barnyard. I think came out in 2003, and that had similar animation. The animation of early 2000s movies weren't really the best. Look at the original Ice Age movie. Yeah. And then you have stuff like Hoodwinked. Yikes. But yeah, so early, and they were coming out with all this stuff. Well, Pixar was dominating the CG animation, stuff, and even their first efforts, Toy Story, that was still a little wonky, and even Bug's Life was a little wonky, and then Toy Story 2 got better, and now look at them. To the point that Toy Story 3, when I went to see Toy Story 4 in theaters, I said to myself, this looks almost too clean for Toy Story, because they changed animation and it looks so much better than it used to. And even Toy Story 3, I don't know if I said this in my review for it, but I remember like when I watched Toy Story 3, it was also kind of clean. So yeah, you could tell between 2 and 3 that big gap that it had changed. And so you go back to 2001 CGI movie Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, and it just, yeah, the animation is probably the worst thing. But it does have some moments, like when they're going through space, that looks pretty good. And when there's liquid or goo, I always find how it looks in CG animation movies. Like they take stuff that would just be liquid, and make it look like goop. Even water looks goopish. It's just, soda looks goopish. I always like what I do with CGI, where like CG animated films. Computer animated films where it's goopy looking water stuff. I always like that. So, yeah. Soundtrack for this movie. I had a soundtrack. I got it for my birthday in 2001. Yeah, my birthday, I think. Birthday or Christmas. I think it was birthday. Birthday in 2001. I remember I got this. A compilation CD called like Cool Tracks 3 or something like that. I believe there was one more CD in there. But then there was also, because I think I got 4 CDs, or is it 3? I know that the Harry Potter soundtrack I got. No, I think I got this for my birthday in 2002. So it would have been my, add that up, my 15th birthday. So yeah, it was 2002 because these movies came out in December. This and Harry Potter came out in 2001. So this would have to be, I was born in February, so this would have to be February 2022 that I got these soundtracks. It was Cool Tracks 3, Jimmy Neutron, and the Harry Potter soundtrack. And I swear there was one more, but I don't remember. But here's the thing. At the time, I wasn't into musical score like I am now. I can just sit and listen to musical score. It doesn't bother me. Back then, it had to have words to it. It had to have lyrics. So I saw, oh, this is just the music. And I was like, okay, I'll take it back. And she took it back. Didn't give me, the money back. She just took it back and kept the money. Didn't buy me a new CD. Didn't say, hey, okay, return this, get a new one. No, she just returned it, kept the money. I didn't get another CD. It was my birthday present. Should I got whatever? But yeah, and then I got a boombox with it. So the boombox, or was it? I had a stereo too. I think I had a stereo before this. I think it was the boombox. I think. Yeah, it was a boombox. The boombox. But yeah, let's get into the movie itself here, and not my personal, stories, but which is what this channel's for, a little bit personal connection. But we're almost 7 minutes in, and I haven't yet really talked about movie stuff for the CGI animation. So the story revolves around Jimmy Neutron, who is a kid of 12, I want to say, maybe younger, 10 or 12, and he is a genius, of course, and he's sending a communication into space because he received a communication from space, so he's sending communication back, and this reaches the Yokians. King Gubat, voiced by Patrick Stewart, and Uba, whatever his name is, his little sidekick friend, voiced by Martin Short, which is probably one of Martin Short's least annoying characters, along with the guy from Ron. But yeah, and so upon seeing this transmission, the Yokians decide to steal all the adults, yeah, and for reasons we will find out later in the film, and yeah, and then so the kids have to go rescue them, basically. So, first and foremost, the voice acting. So, we have Rob Paulson here doing the voice of Carl Weezer and his parents. Debbie Derryberry. How hard is that, Nostalgia Critic? Debbie Derryberry. He couldn't say it. His review, when I watched it, he had to do multiple takes of trying to say Debbie Derryberry. I'll even say his line. We meet Jimmy Neutron, voiced by Debbie Derryberry. I don't know why that's so hard for him to say, but Debbie Derryberry. It kind of goes Debbie Derryberry, DDB. Take it like Dana Carvey's impersonation of George Bush Sr. Nagada, DDB, Nagada, DDB. Kind of that beat, Yes. So Debbie Derryberry voices Jimmy Neutron, and it starts with a weird thing where you have it kind of reminded me of Santa Claus 2, to be honest, where you get the military are observing something going into airspace, and it turns out to be Jimmy, and he's going to launch a toaster that he's modified into space with Carl with him. And I'm just going to say this now, so I'm going to clip it later. At no point in this film when they go into space do they wear helmets or have a protective thing on or a bubble or nothing. They can just breathe in space. I'm sorry, that bugs the heck out of me. Even Superman needed to wear some sort of suit to go into space sometimes. I mean, come on. It's not realistic here. Say, Scotty, it's an animated kids film from 2001. What do you want? Realism. little bit. Just a little bit. Especially when they're trying to explain science stuff and then they go into space and don't need helmets or anything. Come on. But, yeah, so they head back down to Earth after having to use Purple Flurp, which is the soda that they have. I think it's Purple Flurp Cola. Shakes it up, duct tapes it thanks to duct tape from the mouth of Goddard, his robo. Here, I have the Rescue Jet Fusion DVD. Goddard's not on here. Never mind. Goddard's not on the cover. Goddard is his robot dog that can blow himself up and yet not be completely destroyed. But, yeah, so they use the duct tape, shake up the soda, and it's somehow able to push it out of the Earth's atmosphere into space to send a message. Okay? But even if they got out the atmosphere, we're just floating in there. So it just floats along and they find it, I guess. They crash back on Earth. Carl is ejected so he can go to school while Jimmy goes home. And the question I had is, why did Jimmy go home? There's no reason for him to go home other than so he can get yelled at by his mother. James Isaac Neutron. Named after Isaac Newton, maybe? Isaac Neutron. James Isaac Neutron. That's the only thing that makes sense is that he has to go home so he can get yelled at by his mom. But he could have just went to school with Carl. Sorry. I say it like Miss Fowl. Carl. By the way, Miss Fowl, so much hate. Like in this movie. So, Jimmy's running late for school, so he uses this bubble thing to bop him there, but he ends up smacking into a tree trying to show off to Cindy, who is his Helga, basically. You know? I like copy and paste in here. And she's blonde and has pigtails in this. And in the TV show, she has a ponytail, actually. None in this picture, but she has pigtails here. And also, her friend, I don't remember her friend's name, but she would have a different hairstyle, too. She has, like, a hairstyle here. There's an episode of the TV show where they made a mummy who did the hairstyle like that, so she keeps it like that for the rest of the series. So I don't know, I guess the animators just liked it. So anyway, he crashes into the tree with the bubble thing, and it just happens to be the same tree that Carl crashed into. So he frees Carl and they go to school, and it's like right there. So why didn't Carl jump out of the tree and go to school? I don't know. Go to school and it's show and tell day, and Carl has his inhaler. Sheen is showing Ultra Lord for the 758th time because that's his favorite superhero. Ultra Lord! This is Ultra Andre. Anybody want a peanut? But, yeah, it's broken. I got it like this. This was a friend of mine's, and I got it from him. Well, so my friend of mine gave it to a friend of mine, but it was already broken. He gave it to me because he didn't have room where he was going, so, and it's already broken. And the box was already smashed up to pieces, so I tried to glue it a couple times. It won't stay, so this is what we have. Oh, hey, maybe jump match with someone. Okay, Andre, take a nap. Okay. So anyway, yeah, and show and tell, and Jimmy brings his shrink ray. Accidentally shrinks the teacher. Never unshrinks her until the TV show happens. So for the rest of this film, she shrunk. And so Nick, who's the cool kid. Let's talk about Nick, alright? Nick comes in late as hell, eating candy in class, and even admits to faking his own tardy note. And then when she's like, what'd you bring for show and tell? He's like, I don't do show and tell. She's like, oh, that's right. Who gets away with this? This is meh. He gets away with it. He gets away with this. He's like, okay, he's the luckiest kid in the world, I guess. So Nick, the cool kid, of course, talks to Jimmy and says, hey, Jimmy, everyone's going to Retroland. It's the grand opening of Retroland. You should come with. And it's like, It's a school night. Parents will never let them go. Apparently, Jimmy, Carl, and Sheen are the only ones worried about their parents and are the only ones whose parents don't let them go, apparently. Although Nick does say sneak out, so we can maybe assume they all sneaked out, but who knows. Instead of just doing this, he decides to go home and butter up his mom, which doesn't work, and you know it's not going to work. So it's just like, yes, I know, don't advocate for this for your kids, but like, just sneak out. Just instead of trying something you know is not going to work, just sneak out. Because you're not going to, you know. I also want to point out the breakfast scene earlier, where Hugh, the dad, has a box of a cereal called Sugar Quacks, and a little duck toy inside. By the way, the running thing with him in the show is that he loves ducks. Not you, Fez. Shut up. Anyway, so I need to make my throat get a little dry. So they go out. They sneak out to end up sneaking out the retro, and then he shrinks himself so he can get out. Then he unshrinks himself, so he knows how to unshrink someone, but hasn't unshrunk Miss Fowl. While they're at Retroland, the Yokians arrive and abduct all the adults, which I feel like was out of order, because the scene after this is the kids walking home, and Jimmy wishes in front of Sheen and Carl and Sheen, that all the parents were gone so they could just do whatever they wanted. Which, when you're a kid, that's your wish. You want to do whatever you wanted. I felt like, though, this should have come first. Then we see the Yokians abducting the parents. That would have made more sense. But we see the Yokians first, and then this. So, like, okay, we already know what's going to happen. You know? Or we don't see the Yokians do it, and the next day when they get the note, it's like, okay, what's going on here? And we find out the Yokians I don't know. We already know the Yokians are coming, though, because earlier when we see them get the thing, they see the adults. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, we wake up next morning, there's no adults, and Jimmy has a note saying that the parents went on an extended vacation to Florida. Every single kid gets the same note. And they do nothing. They just say, hey, no adults, we can party. Jimmy is supposed to be the smart one, right? The logical one. He should be looking at this going, okay. I know. I made the wish. I know it's cool. We're not going to have our parents. But every single one of the notes is the same thing. There's got to be something going on here. But no. He just ignores it so that they can go have fun. And they do. One night of fun where they do whatever they want. And then the next day, like, okay, we miss our parents now. We want them back. So, yeah. Speaking of the soundtrack, man, there's a bunch of good music on here. It made me feel old. All the music we had on here, there's like, they got Aaron Carter. Makes me sad. There's Nick Cannon, Lil Romeo, and 3LW, who were a thing for like a minute. 3LW. It has more of the Cheetah Girls in it. That's how I know it was like a minute. Because she was in 3LW, and then like the next year, 2 years. It lasted like 2 years because in 2003 she was in the Cheetah Girls. And that was her thing. Adrienne Bailon, I think it was. She was on this, and then she jumped to that. So, didn't last long. Also channels. Nickelodeon, Disney. So anyway, yeah, and there's good music. There's good covers. There's a cover of Library with Science, Kids in America, which was also on the. That was a song that was covered a bunch of times. That was on the Digimon the movie soundtrack a year earlier in 2000. So yeah, the soundtrack was good, and the movie reminds me of how cool the soundtrack. How cool! I'm sorry, I grew up in the age of pop groups. There was good music in the 90s and 2000s. Okay, my mom and I were having a conversation. She was listening to one of Casey Kasem's Countdown, and it was 1988, I think it was. And she said, "This is when music started going to crap," and I'm like, "There was good music in the 90s. There was good music in the 90s." I grew up with the boy bands and the pop stuff, and that stuff was good. They had Pop by NSYNC, and that's a good song. I just really listened to it like last week. It's a good song. It's like a remix one. But, yeah. So they decide they're going to they realize that aliens have taken their parents, so they're going to go save them. So they create spaceships out of the amusement park rides. Now, as a kid, you're like, cool. As an adult, you think, Matt, they just opened that. And you're destroying all the rides so you can go save parents. Now, there are no adults there. Now, I also feel when we get there, they show the adults, there's not enough adults. Every adult in town was kidnapped. There's like maybe 25 adults. Maybe more than 25 adults in Retroville. Not just the ones with, it's not just parents, it's every adult. Like Sam, every adult except for Miss Follow, of course, who is still in the school fighting a giant worm. The Hurt's giant, I guess. But yeah. So they get there, and they're immediately caught. Well, first, they don't get there right away because they hit a meteor shower, because we gotta stretch this out to the 90-minute runtime. So they hit a meteor shower, they decide to stop on an asteroid. The logic of this makes no sense, because asteroids move. So if you're on an asteroid, you are trying to go one direction. If the asteroid's going in the opposite direction, you're going opposite from where you're going. You're going backwards, maybe. But they're on an asteroid. It moves in space on an asteroid. And Nick tells the story of Blair Witch Project, because kids want to hear that. And then they talk about puberty, because kids need to hear that. Well, it's tame. Like, we like girls. No, we don't like girls. We're like, no. Puberty is light years away. If they're 10, and you got about a couple years away. My son's already getting hair on his arms and his legs, he says. He always wears sweatpants, I don't know. But, and I keep going, you got any hair? No, I don't have a beard yet. A mustache? No, a mustache. But yeah, I tease him. She teased my sister too, because she had a mustache. I don't have a mustache. She had a mustache. Anyway, just whacked it. But anyway, what is in this stuff anymore? Purple Flurp? Anyway, they find out that the adults are going to be sacrificed to Poltra, who is a giant chicken that I originally thought was called Cluckzilla, but it's Poltra. Poltra is going to eat all the parents. Again, it doesn't look like there's enough, but I don't know. Eat them. But Jimmy comes up with a plan, thanks to Cindy talking him up to it. And yeah, he saves the day, and the kids save the day. Using tactics where they just remember this one yo kid is like, and the soundtrack said it best. If this was from the point of view of the aliens, that would be the most horrifying thing to see. Where he just rips the nut and the goop comes out and he flies off in the thing. And they try to get out, but Poltra steps in their way. But Sheen comes flying in with the alien spaceship, smashing into Poltra, knocking her down for a little bit. And then they all go in. Poltra, they defeat Poltra. And eventually, Jimmy Neutron's able to grow extra big. Which again, if you could do that, why didn't you grow Miss Fowl back? And also, he's in the middle of space. I said it before. No bubble, no helmet, just giant in space. And you'll be able to breathe in space. You're supposed to be a kid who knows about science. And you can't write that into your script. You just have to have all this like this because we need to do it. And you can't. And they get he has a talk with his parents, and it's like, I realized, yeah, and the whole lesson is not to talk to strangers. That's the whole lesson of this movie. Okay. And then he doesn't get grounded, but they go back to Earth, and we get conclusion of a joke they started where he has this soda that causes you to constantly burp. But the mom finds it, and he's like, oh, what's this? I don't remember buying this soda. Before Jimmy can fully warn her she drinks it and starts burping, and the dad comes and says, "Oh yes, I'm thirsty." No, you just burping, and they just laugh it off basically. And that's how the movie ends. So, yeah, I'm gonna say it's pretty good. I think this really held up. The animation's a little meh, but I think it still. I was afraid I wasn't gonna like this, but I still really enjoyed it. Jimmy Neutron is one of my favorite Nicktoons. It's not in the top 5, but it's in the top 10 at least. I do want to do a top 10 Nicktoons because I really want to talk about these, but I don't have the complete series. It's the only one I didn't really. It came out like last year or so, and I just didn't. Maybe 2021 for the 20th anniversary. Now I think about it, or no, the show came out in 2002, so maybe it was. But I do have this. The Jet Fusion DVD has Operation Rescue Jet Fusion, which is a weird name, and then it has 6 bonus cartoons. It says episodes, but these are just little 10-minute or whatever. These are the segments, because each episode was 2 cartoons. So these are just little, like 10 to 15-minute cartoons, whatever. We have Rescue Jet Fusion, of course. My Son the Hamster, See Jimmy Run, Crunch Time, Safety First, The Retrobille 9, and Grumpy Young Men. Well, I remember that one. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius? Let me know. So make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and up next, I shouldn't even have to look, but I did. Up next, I had to make sure. Up next, your watch stops time. No way. I go Meeker. Go Meeker. I should have reviewed this movie a long time ago. Somehow, I haven't. Until then, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.